Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this Petite pastel stuffed angel ornament. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make the Petite pastel stuffed angel, we will begin with a pattern. This is mid-weight fusible interfacing. It's 3 by 4. And this is just graph paper, of course, and I started with a piece of graph paper that was 3.5 tall and 2.5 wide. Then I used my circle template to round out the bottom. I went out 3 squares, so 3/4 of an inch on either side of the center fold, and connected that to the start of the circle. And then I just, I kept it folded and I cut it out, opened it up, and there we go. This is a small angel, and so we'll be using a 3/4 inch wooden ball knob. And I've already made the face. And of course, you can find the instructions for the face in my Focus on Faces video. I'm noticing this one cheek is a little bit closer, and then this one is a little bit further, so I think I'll fix that before we begin. I'm using this print from the Hometown Holiday Fabric Collection, and the first thing that I want to do is iron on this fusible interfacing. I'm using it as a stabilizer, and I'm just going to iron it onto the back of this fabric and then cut it out. Now you can see that the foundation is larger than the pattern. I just like to have a little bit of wiggle room when I cut this out. And so the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line 1 inch up from the bottom and 1 inch down from the top. I'm going to try to keep my trims right in the center here. I have an assortment of these sort of blush colored trims, and when I was starting this collection, I was kind of taken by the way that this blush colored trim goes with this fabric. I just like the way it looks. I know it's not very matchy, but I just like it. So I'm going to sort of arrange these laces and trims. I'm going to try to do 4 or 5 pieces, and I'm only going to use my ivory thread, so I want to sort of stagger them in a way that I can get it done without having to change threads too frequently. Okay, I think I'm going to do this, this, and this. Okay, what's that? All right, I'm going to set this one here with the top edge even with that line. And then this one here, so this is at the kind of the bottom edge. I'm trying to center, let's see, center this, and then above this, I'm going to overlap this one. I think it actually goes this way. Nope, this way. And then in between, I'm going to put this one with the dots. So, all right, I'm going to start with this one. And what I like to do is just kind of glue it down with a glue pen. This kind, I like this kind. You can use a regular glue stick. It's a little bit fat for some of these trims, but it'll definitely get the job done. So I'm just going to use the card in case the glue stick runs over the edge. I'll start with this one. Then I'm just going to stack those remaining pieces. That looks good. Now I'm going to sew along the edges of these trims with a zigzag, and I'll be right back. Here we go. I've sewn on the trims, and I'm going to trim off the excess like this. Okay, we're going to center this little motif right here at the bottom, and then make sure there's a, pretty much similar amount at the top and the bottom, above and below the trim. So like that. That looks good. And I'll pin this and cut it out. That looks really good. Now I'll place this face down on the fabric and sort of cut out around it. Great. And now I will stitch around the shape with a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to leave the top open for turning. That looks good. I also backstitched here and here several times so that that's nice and secure when I'm turning and stuffing, so those stitches don't loosen. I'm going to use my pinking shears to trim this, to cut it out. Okay, I'm going to go do this over my trash can. If you are concerned about the blue color of my glue stick, don't be, because it dries clear. I'm sure by the time I finish this project, you won't even notice it. Let's have a look. Great. That looks awesome. All right, I'm going to press it and stuff it. I'm using Polyfill Ultra Plush. And even though this is a small project, I left the same size opening that I usually use to turn and stuff, because I want it to be fun and easy. That looks good. Now we're going to gather up the top. I'll start here at the seam so that the knot catches on the seam allowance. And then I'm just going to do a little running stitch all the way around, just through one layer. So I'm going all the way around. I keep my left hand inside just so that the needle doesn't catch the stuffing. When I reach the side seam, I go over so that the side seam dips down into the gathers. And that's pretty much all there is to it. I'm going to draw this up tightly and get the seam allowance tucked to the inside. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that looks good. So I'm going to sew through a couple more times, just securing the gathers. And making sure that's all nice and tight and neat. But still doesn't have to be perfect, you know that. Then I'm going to secure the thread in the back here. I know there's going to be wings that are going to be covering this, so I'm not too concerned. I just like to make a French knot and then reinsert the needle right at the same spot, approximately. And then, can you see that little French knot right there? Then I'm just going to like pull it through. Now, I don't know if this is the world's greatest way to secure a thread, but it works for me. Okay. Now, this is only a 3/4 inch head bead. So the first I glued it on and I thought, wow, that's way too small. It doesn't look right. And I actually started over. I redrafted it so that it was tighter at the top, and then it was a struggle to stuff. So anyway, it's going to turn out fine. I'm going to apply some hot glue to the flat part of the bead and just press it onto the top. Once you get the hair and the collar and everything, it really fills out and it looks absolutely perfect. So I just like to hold that for a second. Great. Okay, next is the collar. My collar lace is about 15 inches of 3/8 inch wide flat lace. I'm going to fold over the first end, secure my knot. This is a doubled strand of like craft thread. And then I'm just going to gather it up with a running stitch all the way down. There we go. Okay, now I'll place this around her neck, join the ends in the back. Then I kind of distribute the fullness of the gathers so that it looks, you know, the little ruffles are even all the way around. Then I'm going to pull that tight, and I have a really nice strong thread so I can pull it tight. Otherwise her neck looks a little bit too thick and not very angelic. Okay, now I'm going to go through from the back to the front, and that just helps to prevent the ruffles from slipping. So they're going to kind of stay put. I don't want to stitch too low because I'm going to probably lift that collar up to glue something underneath it. So I just want to keep the stitches right at the top where the gathers are. There we go, and I'll secure my thread on the back. Now we'll do the hair. This is a regular 3x5 index card. I'm going to fold it in half. Then I have two different yarns, both pretty fine. This is a loopy mohair, and this is, I think, just like a fuzzy mohair, but I definitely have two strands. Okay, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see this, but like that. And treating them as one, I'm going to wrap the card. So I'm just going to wrap all the way across, looping it like this, and just so that I don't pull too hard on the, and it doesn't bend, you know what I mean, like in weaving. I'm going to keep this, my index finger back here, and I'm going to wrap around the index finger. I'm just going to wrap all the way to the end and back. Okay, so it looks like this. And now I'm going to machine stitch across the center here, back and forth and back again, so maybe 3 times. Now to remove the yarn from the cards, I'm just going to fold it back and forth a few times. And I did stitch through 3 times, so that really perforated it pretty well. And then it's not very hard to just reach in and remove the index card. That looks nice and clean. There we go. Now this is like a wig for her, and I'm going to start by squeezing out some glue along from ear to ear like this, like a headband. Then the center of the seam goes right over the glue and into the glue. I always like to peek and make sure that it's, you know, even and not too far back, not too far forward. Then I'm going to add more glue along here in between the ends of the headband, and then I'm just going to press the rest of this yarn into place. So that side goes like that, and that side goes like that. Great. Let's have a look. She looks beautiful. All right, so now we're going to tie off her top knot. Okay, so I have my needle threaded with that nice strong craft thread, and I'm just drawing all of this hair up. And then I'll wrap it like this at least twice, and then tie it. I like to use, you know, the needle for this, and knot it right there. And then I'm going to go back and forth through the hair. That way the loop that I just made won't just yank off. All right. And then I'll tie this again. I'm going off center a little bit above her eye there, and I know that's right where I'm going to add an embellishment. I've got my needle threaded with this gold baker's twine, so I'm just going to go ahead and add the hanging loop right now. And that's going to be stitched through the hair below the top knot. Just like that. Let's add the halo. This is 20 gauge gold wire from the craft store. This is 4 inches of wire. I'm going to shape it into a circle and twist the ends together. Open that up and then fold that down like that. Boop, boop. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the end here and press that into the center of her top knot. Just holding it a second to make sure that the glue firms up. Didn't quite hold it long enough, but it's going to be fine. Now I like to add a little bit of an accent to her hair right here. This is cute. I have this teeny tiny ribbon rose. I think this is from the 90s. Or I have this little flower. I think any of them looks good. Let's see. I think I'm going to use this paper Forget-Me-Not because I did use the blue ones for my last project and it keeps a little bit of consistency. I also feel like, you know, I used this trim in the blue collection, so that's another way to assure consistency. I added some hot glue to the back of this flower, and I'm just going to press that into her hairstyle right there. That looks good. It's a little bright, but it looks cute. I think I'm going to add a little bow right here underneath her collar, or maybe on top. I just tied this bow from 1/16 inch ribbon, and I think I will go on top of the lace collar right there. It's hard to get the loops exactly identical on either side, so I try not to worry about it. Also, if you want a perfect bow, you can always buy these, and that's another good option. La Petite. For the wings, I'm going to cut a 3.5 inch scallop circle from wool felt. This is 100% wool felt from Weir Crafts, W-E-I-R, and this color is Petal Pink. This scallop circle is from Spellbinders. Ta-da! Now to form wings, I'm going to fold this in half. Then I'm going to stitch just a regular running stitch on my machine, just a number 1 stitch, and to secure those layers. There we go, that looks good. Now I'm just going to hot glue this to the back of her head, like that. So I'm going to determine the center right there. Make sure the hanging loop is out of the way. And then Just glue that to the back of her head. I have hot glue. I'm gonna hold that for a second. And we're done. Yay, she turned out so cute. Thank you for watching my video. If you're enjoying my tutorials, please like, share, and subscribe.